John Donovan had been hiking for most of his life. The 34-year-old aerospace engineer from San Diego maintained meticulous records of his excursions, documenting over 200 successful summits across 3 continents in a spreadsheet he updated after each climb. According to colleagues at Northrop Grumman, where Donovan had worked for 9 years, he approached outdoor activities with the same methodical precision he applied to his professional work designing guidance systems. On May 17, 2021, Donovan set out to summit Mount Whitney, the tallest peak in the contiguous United States, standing at 14,505 feet. The Sierra Nevada mountain was familiar territory to Donovan, who had previously completed the ascent on 3 separate occasions. Weather conditions on May 17th were recorded as optimal for a summit attempt. The National Weather Service documented clear skies with temperatures ranging from 28 degrees at the summit to 62 degrees at the trailhead. Wind speeds remained below 15 mph throughout the day. Donovan had obtained the required wilderness permit, ID 747-3, through the recreation.gov portal 3 months in advance, indicating his intention to complete the 22-mile round-trip route in a single day. This approach, known as a day hike, was consistent with Donovan's previous ascents of Mount Whitney. His vehicle, a 2018 Subaru Outback with California license plate 7UVD294, was located at the Whitney Portal parking lot at elevation 8,374 feet where the trailhead begins. Surveillance footage from the Eastern Sierra Interagency Visitor Center captured Donovan arriving at 4:37 a.m. He signed the trail register at 4:53 a.m., listing his intended route as the Mount Whitney Trail, with an expected return time of 8:00 p.m. that same day. The register entry noted he was traveling alone. Donovan's final confirmed communication occurred at 10:21 a.m. when he used his Garmin InReach satellite messenger to send a text message to his sister, Catherine Donovan Wu. The message read, "Made it to Trail Crest. Weather perfect, should reach summit by noon, back to car by sunset." The GPS coordinates embedded in this transmission placed Donovan at Trail Crest, elevation 13,645 feet, approximately 1.9 miles from the summit. When Donovan failed to return to his vehicle by the following morning, his sister contacted the Inyo County Sheriff's Department at 8:17 a.m. on May 18, 2021. Deputies located Donovan's Subaru at the Whitney Portal parking lot with no signs of disturbance. A missing person report, case IC MP21-0517, was filed at 9:43 a.m., and the Inyo County Search and Rescue Team was mobilized at 10:15 a.m. Initial search efforts focused on the main Mount Whitney Trail, with teams working from both the trailhead and summit approaches. Over the next 7 days, the search operation expanded to include 64 personnel from 6 agencies, 3 helicopter units, 5 canine teams, and drone surveillance, covering an area of approximately 30 square miles. Analysis of Donovan's satellite messenger showed no transmissions after the 10:21 a.m. message on May 17th. The device's battery was confirmed to have been at 91% charge at the time of this final communication. Weather records indicated the conditions remained favorable throughout May 17th, but a significant storm system moved into the area beginning at approximately 2:30 a.m. on May 18th, bringing 8 inches of snow to elevations above 12,000 feet. This weather event hampered search efforts and potentially obscured physical evidence along the trail. On the summit register, which is maintained in a metal container at the peak, Donovan's name was not found among the 37 hikers who signed in on May 17, 2021. The last confirmed sighting of Donovan came from fellow hiker Melissa Torrance, who reported passing him at the Trail Crest Junction. In her statement to investigators, Torrance said, "He seemed in good spirits, well-equipped, and moving at a steady pace. Nothing appeared unusual or concerning about his demeanor or condition." Torrance's photographs from that day, which were examined by investigators, showed clear skies and dry trail conditions, with patches of snow visible only in sheltered north-facing areas. After exhausting all conventional search methods and finding no trace of Donovan beyond the trail crest location, the active search operation was suspended on May 25, 2021. Inyo County Sheriff Jason Marsh stated in the official press release, "Despite our extensive efforts utilizing best practices in Alpine search and rescue, we have been unable to locate Mr. Donovan. While the active search is being suspended, the investigation remains open, and we will immediately respond to any new information that becomes available." The case was reclassified from search and rescue to a missing person investigation under the jurisdiction of the Inyo County Sheriff's Department. In the months that followed, periodic searches were conducted by both official personnel and volunteer groups, including the Sierra Mountaineering Club, of which Donovan had been a member. These efforts yielded no significant findings. Donovan's family maintained an active social media campaign seeking information, and a $50,000 reward was established for information leading to his discovery. The hashtag #FindJohnDonovan generated over 30,000 posts across various platforms, but produced no actionable leads. As the one-year anniversary of his disappearance approached, the case had gone cold. According to search and rescue statistics compiled by the National Park Service, Donovan became one of approximately 1,600 individuals who have gone missing in national parks and wilderness areas since 2007 without being located. Precisely 752 days after John Donovan's disappearance on June 8, 2023, the narrative shifted dramatically. Alpinist Rebecca Keller, 29, was traversing a section of the Sierra Crest approximately 1.7 miles northwest of the Mount Whitney summit, in a remote area outside the normal hiking routes. This section, known as the North Face, features technical terrain with grades reaching Class 4 in the Yosemite Decimal System. Keller, an experienced climber with certification from the American Mountain Guides Association, was conducting a solo reconnaissance of potential new routes when she discovered an anomalous ice formation at coordinates 36.592 degree N, 118.325 degree Alus, at an elevation of 13,870 feet. In her subsequent statement to the Inyo County Sheriff's Department, Keller described finding what appeared to be a small ice cave formed by wind erosion against a granite wall. The opening was approximately 90 centimeters high and 1.2 meters wide. It wasn't visible until I was directly adjacent to it due to the surrounding terrain and snow patterns. What caught my attention was the unnatural symmetry of the opening and what looked like disturbed snow around the entrance. Upon closer inspection with her headlamp, Keller observed what she initially believed to be mountaineering equipment inside the cave. As she documented in her written statement, "I saw what I thought was a backpack and possibly a sleeping bag about 2 meters inside the opening. When I illuminated the area more thoroughly, I realized I was looking at a human body in a semi-reclined position against the cave wall." Keller's satellite phone call to emergency services was received at 11:43 a.m. The recording captured her saying, "I've found a body on the north face of Mount Whitney. But something's not right. I think the person is still alive." Due to the remote location and technical terrain, a specialized high-altitude rescue team was deployed from the Inyo County Search and Rescue Unit, supported by a California Highway Patrol helicopter with hoist capabilities. The team reached the location at 2:17 p.m., approximately 2.5 hours after Keller's initial call. What they discovered would challenge medical understanding and create a mystery that continues to generate debate within the scientific community. According to the official incident report, case number IC SAR 230608, rescuers entered the ice cave to find an adult male in a seated position against the rear wall. The subject was wearing a blue North Face Summit Series jacket, black REI hiking pants, Salomon X Ultra hiking boots, and a black beanie cap. A 65-liter Osprey backpack was positioned beside him. The body was partially covered in a thin layer of ice, with more substantial ice formations encasing the lower extremities up to mid-thigh. Most significantly, responding paramedic Daniela Vasquez documented that upon examination, she detected shallow respiration at a rate of approximately 3 breaths per minute and a faint carotid pulse measured at 10 beats per minute. Body temperature was recorded at 68 degrees using an oral thermometer, well below normal human temperature of 98.6 degrees, but significantly above the ambient cave temperature of 26 degrees. Lead rescuer Thomas Harding described the scene in his report. Subject was unresponsive to verbal or painful stimuli, but exhibited signs of life inconsistent with the apparent time spent at the location. Frost was present on exposed skin surfaces, but no significant tissue necrosis was immediately visible. The positioning of the body and equipment suggested the subject had deliberately entered the cave and arranged his equipment around him in an organized manner. The subject was identified as John Donovan through documentation found in his possession, including his wilderness permit and driver's license, located in a waterproof pouch in his backpack. The extraction operation was complex due to the technical terrain and the fragile medical condition of the subject. Using a specialized hypothermia protocol, rescuers gradually warmed Donovan's core temperature by Fahrenheit per hour while preparing him for helicopter evacuation. He remained unresponsive throughout this process. At 5:43 p.m., Donovan was successfully transported via hoist operation to the waiting helicopter and transferred to Ridgecrest Regional Hospital, arriving at 6:28 p.m. He was immediately evaluated by the emergency medical team led by Dr. Eleanor Pham, who specialized in hypothermia and high-altitude medicine. Dr. Pham's initial assessment, as documented in the medical record, described Donovan's condition as presenting with profound hypothermia, minimal respiratory function, and severely depressed cardiac activity. Despite these findings, cellular degradation appears remarkably limited given the presumed duration of exposure. Donovan was placed on extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, ECMO, a technique that provides cardiac and respiratory support by circulating blood through an artificial lung back into the bloodstream. Core temperature was gradually increased following established protocols for severe hypothermia cases. Blood samples revealed extreme metabolic abnormalities, including a pH of 6.9, severe electrolyte imbalances, and evidence of significant ketosis, indicating long-term starvation. As medical intervention continued, investigators from the Inyo County Sheriff's Department documented the contents of Donovan's backpack. Items recovered included a partially used fuel canister for his camping stove, 317 milliliters of water in a 1-liter Nalgene bottle, an emergency bivy sack, a headlamp with depleted batteries, a first aid kit, unopened, 146 grams of trail mix, 2 protein bars, a paper map of Mount Whitney trails, a compass, a multi-tool, extra socks, a lightweight down jacket, and a journal containing entries dated May 17 to 19, 2021. The journal's final entry, dated May 19th at an unspecified time, read, "Storm worse, can't see trail. Found shelter in rock formation. Will wait for visibility to improve. Getting colder." The handwriting in this entry showed signs of deterioration compared to earlier entries, suggesting impaired motor function or extreme environmental conditions at the time of writing. The location where Donovan was found was approximately 1.2 miles off the main Mount Whitney Trail, in an area not typically traversed by hikers. Analysis of topographic data indicated that if Donovan had continued past trail crest toward the summit, but then deviated northwest during conditions of poor visibility, the terrain would have channeled him toward the area where he was ultimately discovered. The ice cave itself appeared to be a natural formation, enhanced by wind patterns that had hollowed out an area where snow had accumulated against a granite wall. Geologists from the United States Geological Survey, who later examined the site, determined that the cave's unusual thermal properties, created by a combination of rock insulation, limited air circulation, and seasonal snowpack, had maintained a relatively stable internal temperature that fluctuated between 20 degrees and 30 degrees year-round. After 72 hours of intensive medical intervention, John Donovan remained in a comatose state, though his vital signs had stabilized. Brain activity was minimal but detectable on electroencephalogram, EEG. Medical specialists from multiple disciplines were consulted, including experts in hypothermia, high-altitude medicine, and hibernation physiology. The case caught the attention of Dr. Yusheng Feng from the Cryobiological Research Institute, who obtained permission from Donovan's family to study his physiological state. Dr. Feng's preliminary findings suggested that Donovan had entered an extreme form of hypometabolism, a dramatic slowing of bodily functions, beyond what had previously been documented in human medical literature. According to Dr. Feng's research notes, which were later published in the Journal of Emergency Medicine, subject exhibits physiological patterns consistent with deep torpor states observed in certain hibernating mammals, though no known mechanism exists for humans to enter such a state. Cellular preservation is remarkable, with minimal evidence of the expected damage from prolonged extreme hypothermia. This case presents a profound challenge to our understanding of human physiological limits. Blood samples revealed unusual concentrations of compounds associated with metabolic suppression, including hydrogen sulfide derivatives and specialized proteins known to have cryoprotective properties in certain cold-adapted organisms. These findings prompted additional research into whether Donovan had somehow triggered an ancestral biological mechanism not previously observed in modern humans. 10 days after his rescue, John Donovan opened his eyes for the first time. He remained unable to speak or respond to commands, but demonstrated increasing periods of wakefulness. Neurological assessment indicated diffuse brain damage consistent with prolonged oxygen deprivation, though the pattern was atypical. Magnetic resonance imaging showed areas of preserved brain tissue that, according to consulting neurologist Dr. Sanjay Gupta, should not have remained viable, given the presumed duration of reduced blood flow and oxygenation. This paradoxical finding further complicated the medical community's understanding of the case. As Donovan's medical status stabilized, investigators continued to piece together the events that led to his extraordinary survival. Analysis of the cave site revealed that Donovan had apparently created a rudimentary shelter using his emergency bivy sack and backpack. The cave's orientation provided protection from prevailing winds, and the narrow entrance had been partially blocked with packed snow, creating an igloo-like insulation effect. Most of his emergency supplies had been consumed, and the position of items suggested organized rationing rather than haphazard use. These findings indicated that Donovan had made deliberate survival decisions before losing consciousness. The prevailing theory that emerged from the investigation suggested that Donovan had been caught in the sudden storm that arrived on May 18, 2021, became disoriented in low-visibility conditions, and wandered off the main trail while attempting to descend from trail crest. After finding the natural rock shelter, he appears to have made rational decisions to conserve resources and wait out the storm. However, as temperatures dropped and his supplies dwindled, he likely experienced progressive hypothermia. Rather than resulting in death, the specific environmental conditions of the ice cave, combined with what researchers now theorize may be a rare physiological response, allowed him to enter an unprecedented state of suspended animation. 28 days after his rescue, Donovan spoke his first words. According to the medical record, Nurse Alicia Morales was checking his vital signs when he opened his eyes and clearly said, "Is it still snowing?" His subsequent recovery of cognitive functions was described by his neurological team as remarkable but highly irregular, with certain capabilities returning fully while others remained severely impaired. Donovan demonstrated no continuous memory of the time spent in the ice cave, though he reported fragmentary impressions that he described as like extremely long dreams of being frozen in place, aware but unable to move. These descriptions became the subject of intense interest among consciousness researchers who proposed various theories about the nature of awareness during states of profoundly reduced metabolism. Physical therapy began 6 weeks after Donovan's rescue, focusing on restoring movement to his extremities, which had suffered moderate frostbite damage primarily to the toes and fingertips. Surprisingly, the expected muscle atrophy from such a prolonged period of immobility was less severe than anticipated. Metabolic studies revealed that during his time in the ice cave, Donovan's body had entered a state of extreme efficiency in preserving critical tissues, while allowing peripheral systems to shut down almost completely. Dr. Catherine Moore of Stanford University's Department of Biology, who joined the research team studying Donovan's case, characterized this state as analogous to but distinct from hibernation, a human variant of suspended animation that has never been properly documented in medical literature. As Donovan's recovery progressed, he began to provide more detailed accounts of his final conscious memories before being found. He recalled reaching the trail crest junction and continuing toward the summit, but becoming concerned about darkening clouds in the distance. According to his statement, he decided to push for the summit quickly, with plans to descend immediately after. However, the weather deteriorated more rapidly than expected, with visibility dropping to less than 10 feet in blowing snow. Donovan described attempting to return the way he had come, but losing the trail markers in the whiteout conditions. His last clear memory was finding a protected area between rock formations and setting up his emergency bivouac with the intention of waiting until visibility improved. The investigation into how Donovan survived for 752 days in conditions that should have been fatal within hours has generated significant scientific interest. Research teams from multiple universities have studied tissue samples, conducted genetic analyses, and created computational models of the ice cave's microclimate. While debate continues within the scientific community, several factors appear to have contributed to this unprecedented case of survival. The specific thermal properties of the ice cave, Donovan's excellent physical condition prior to the incident, the gradual onset of hypothermia allowing physiological adaptation, and what appears to be a previously unrecognized human capacity for extreme hypometabolism under specific environmental conditions. 6 months after his rescue, John Donovan continued to receive specialized care at the University of California, San Diego Medical Center. His cognitive functions had improved to approximately 70% of baseline, according to standardized neurological assessments. Motor functions returned more slowly, with persistent impairment to fine motor control in both hands and a modified gait due to partial amputation of 3 toes lost to frostbite. His case has been documented in several medical journals and has prompted the National Institutes of Health to establish a specialized research initiative on human hypometabolism and extreme survival states. The Mount Whitney ice cave, as it has come to be known, was thoroughly documented by scientific teams before being closed to public access by the U.S. Forest Service. Analysis of ice cores from the cave revealed annual layers that confirmed the stable nature of the formation over at least several decades. Microbial studies identified several extremophile organisms living in the ice, including previously unknown bacterial species that thrive in the cave's unique conditions. These organisms are now being studied for potential applications in cryopreservation and hypothermic medical procedures. John Donovan's improbable survival has forced medical science to reconsider established limits of human physiological endurance. As Dr. Fung noted in his follow-up paper published in Nature, the Donovan case demonstrates that under highly specific conditions, the human body may access evolutionarily ancient metabolic pathways that permit survival far beyond what conventional medical understanding would predict possible. This opens new avenues for research in suspended animation, space travel, and treatment of conditions requiring metabolic manipulation. For Donovan himself, the experience has permanently altered the course of his life. Though he no longer hikes alone in alpine environments, he has become an advocate for wilderness safety and an active participant in the ongoing research into his own unprecedented survival. As researchers continue to study the physiological mechanisms behind Donovan's survival, one question remains particularly compelling. Was this a singular event specific to one individual's unique physiology, or does it represent a latent capacity in all humans that is activated only under extraordinary circumstances? The answer may reshape our understanding of human resilience and the outer boundaries of survival.